They're on your CD-ROM on page 284 of the report. There's 2 pages on minimum standards. The Tier 2 ranking is the second tier, and it says the country does not meet all of these minimum standards, but it is making a significant effort to do so within the capacity of the country to make an effort. Tier 2 watch list is also part of Tier 2, but it is the lower segment of Tier 2. And it says that countries are still making significant efforts, but they've failed to show appreciable progress since the year before, and there is a concern that they could be slipping backwards towards Tier 3. And Tier 3 are countries that are making little or no effort to combat trafficking. So that would be the lowest tier, and it's usually a very negative assessment of the country. In regard to Mauritius, Mauritius was given a very positive Tier 2 ranking in the June 2008 Trafficking in Persons report, meaning that Mauritius made significant efforts during the 2007 reporting year, and it was particularly noted these efforts were in the area of the P of prosecution, so in increased law enforcement efforts against the problem of trafficking. As you probably know, however, Mauritius does not have a law against either the trafficking of adults or against labor trafficking in terms of forced or bonded labor. Unfortunately, until Mauritius enacts a law that includes the trafficking of adults, there is currently a child trafficking law under the Child Protection Act that is being used or can be used to prosecute trafficking cases. But until there's a law that comprehensively outlaws all trafficking for all people, we are unable to consider Mauritius for a Tier 1 ranking, since the minimum standard number 1 talks about whether a country has outlawed all forms of trafficking. And so for Mauritius, the move to Tier 1 is more of a technical move, or the prevention is more of a technical thing, as opposed to a capacity issue or a political will issue or an effort-based issue, which some other countries in Africa struggle with. Once this law is passed, and we have recently learned that the comprehensive anti-trafficking law has been completed by the Attorney General's office, the consultative review is completely done, and it is ready to soon be moved to the Cabinet and then to be moved for passage, which is good progress, very encouraging. We are hoping to see speedy passage so that we can rank Mauritius in Tier 1 as soon as possible. The second area we will be looking at to ensure that Mauritius meets the Tier 1 standard is the area of law enforcement. Minimum standard number 4, substandard 1 under that. Sorry, there's so many standards, but it looks at, does a country vigorously investigate, prosecute, and convict traffickers for trafficking offenses? And so we will be looking very closely at law enforcement efforts while we are looking at the passage of the law to see if traffickers have been brought to justice. The Department of State prepares this human trafficking report in partnership with our embassies who are located in each country. We use information from meetings with primarily government officials, but also from meetings with NGOs, international organizations, members of the media who do reporting on human trafficking or other human rights type of issues, meetings with religious leaders who see things happening on the ground. The sources could be very broad, are always vetted to ensure that the sources are actually speaking true information. But these are the types of sources we take our information from. Staff from my office also travel extensively to be on the ground with our embassies to see for ourselves what is happening. But our timeline for the reporting year is our report covers 1 year of time only, from March of the previous year to March of the current year. So the report we are getting ready to draft will cover the efforts of Mauritius from March of 2008 until March of 2009. So this is one of the reasons for my trip, is our upcoming drafting of this report. Quentin and I will be working together to put the report together and to get the draft ready. However, this is not a report that we write in isolation. It is a full department-wide report where it is fully discussed throughout various parts of the State Department. Many bureaus and offices are involved in the creation of this report. So I came to Mauritius to try to better understand the human trafficking problem here, since it had been since August 2005, since I was here the last time, and to better understand particularly what government officials are doing about the problem here in Mauritius. We've spent the last few days meeting with a variety of ministries in the government as well as some NGOs, and we will continue our meetings until tonight when I leave for the airport. However, Quentin is here all of the time with some of our other embassy staff monitoring year-round and reporting on this issue, and they will continue to conduct meetings after I leave for the other ministries we were not able to fit into the schedule this time around. Overall, I've been impressed during my time here with the level of awareness of human trafficking that is in this country, as well as your government's concern for children who are in prostitution, as well as other types of human trafficking issues, and the interest I see in doing what it can to combat the problem. I believe that there's strong political will here, unlike in other countries that I cover, to take steps to protect trafficking victims and to provide appropriate types of services, and to bring those who exploit such children to justice. In closing, trafficking is a global problem. It's a global phenomenon. It affects all countries in the world. It's a problem with very serious international dimensions, both human rights dimensions, public health dimensions, international rule of law, and public security dimensions. We are engaging governments on this report, not for the sake of the report or to have a beautiful report, but in order to attempt to engage to ensure cooperation on the issue of trafficking, to ensure that awareness levels are raised, to be a catalyst for future efforts to combat human trafficking around the world.